Walk down the rural streets of Japan, and you'll find them sitting on porches and benches. Life-sized fabric dolls, dressed in heavy coats and sun hats, staring out at empty roads. The residents of Ichinono and Nanoku are sewing these mannequins to populate their thinning streets, a quiet psychological defense against the reality of a town that is literally disappearing. Then, a sound breaks the silence that hasn't been heard here in over 20 years, the cry of a newborn baby, the first birth in a generation. When a town celebrates a single infant while relying on stuffed fabric to mimic a community, the math is already terminal. These are the physical symptoms of a nation in demographic freefall. This is the demographic cliff, the threshold where birth rates drop too low to sustain the basic functions of a civilization. The ghost math of 2024 reveals the scale of the crisis. Last year, Japan recorded 1.58 million deaths, but only 730,000 births. The deficit is widening every year. If this trend continues, Japan will shrink to half its current size by the end of the century, shedding over 60 million people in a single lifetime. A 50% contraction leaves no room for economic recovery. It represents a permanent mathematical shift for a global powerhouse. The collapse began in the 1990s. When Japan's massive asset bubble burst, it took the country's sense of financial security with it. This crash destroyed the traditional omiai matchmaking system, which relied on stable corporate employment. It initiated the lost decades, a period of stagnation that redefined the Japanese middle class. Today, the average young worker earns between $17,000 and $20,000 a year. Attempting to raise 2 children on that salary consumes nearly half of a household's total income. For most young workers, the math of parenthood no longer adds up. Choosing to remain childless has become a basic requirement for individual survival. Surviving in this economy requires grueling physical endurance. Employees often log 12 to 14-hour days just to maintain their standing in the workforce. This culture of overwork created a unique medical classification, karoshi, or death from excessive labor. Satoshi Sakiawa and Miwa Sato are the human faces of these statistics. Both died of heart failure after logging over 100 hours of overtime in a single month. A corporate culture demanding total physical exhaustion effectively eliminates the biological time and energy required to date, marry, and raise a family. As the family unit shrinks, the consumer market has pivoted toward a new reality: total isolation. The solo economy is now a dominant force. From single-occupancy karaoke booths to solo wedding ceremonies, Japanese commerce is restructuring itself around the individual. This drive for connection has moved into the digital realm. Millions of people have downloaded virtual AI partners, while others live with glowing, holographic spouses that provide a sense of companionship without the financial burden of a human relationship. The biological drive for connection remains, even as it pivots toward the digital. A new generation is settling for synthetic, zero-maintenance relationships that fit within their limited budgets. The physical world is already feeling the strain. At Yumoto Junior High, 15-year-olds Ayaho and Atasato recently stood as the final 2 students to graduate before the school closed its doors for good. To fix this shrinking workforce, many economists suggest a simple increase in mass immigration. This model illustrates why that solution is incomplete. Immigration can fill a specific labor bucket to keep factories running, but it fails to refill the massive leaking bucket of the total national population. Once a society crosses the demographic cliff, importing labor cannot reverse a collapse in native births. Japan is the first visible case of a demographic contagion now surfacing across the developed world. In the United States, soaring living costs are forcing a similar shift. Gen Z and millennials are increasingly substituting pets and plants for children, as the financial hurdle of parenthood becomes insurmountable. The global balance is shifting toward regions like Nigeria, growing at 2.5% a year, with nearly half its population under the age of 15. We are left to wonder if these empty villages represent a localized failure or the inevitable mathematical blueprint for the end of global growth.